There is this preacher's story that is often told today on the Feast of All Saints. I've probably heard it about 10 to 15 times, so bear with me. Imagine, it's a Sunday school class, of course. All good stories about church involve either children or pets. You need to know that. The teacher points to one of the stained glass windows and asks if anyone knows who all those people flocked around Jesus are. There's silence, of course, because the only answer that they knew was Jesus, and he's already in the picture, so it can't be him. So the teacher says, "Those are all the saints." Now, who can tell me what a saint is? At that moment, the clouds outside part, and sunlight streams through the window. Little Sally raises her hand and sheepishly says, "I guess saints are the ones who let the sun shine through." Ah, yeah. It's sweet, isn't it? Now, I'm a really sentimental guy, as you know. But even I have gone into saccharine overload when I heard that for probably the 10th or 12th time or some variation. That is, until now. I think there are times when we need to hear really sweet stories that bring in the light when it seems like there is darkness all around us. Today we celebrate the Feast of All Saints to bring that story to truth and light, that we are part of a larger communion of a great cloud of witnesses who are to let the sun shine through us so that the world may see that God dispels all darkness. And if part of the truth of what it means to be a saint is to be one of those whom the light shines through, then I can't imagine a time in my life when I have needed to hear that more than now. And if we are all saints, part of that great cloud of witnesses, those who are called to lead such transparent lives of love and faithfulness that the light shines through us, then I can't imagine a time in my life when the world has needed us more than it does now. On top of coming out of a pandemic, with racial prejudice and indigenous justice being at their worst, the war in Ukraine still raging, inflation soaring, a global recession looming, and now Israel and Palestine in a bitter spiral of reciprocal hatred and violence. I feel like the darkness is all around me, don't you? Talk about a great ordeal. How could your mind not jump to everything that is happening in our world when you heard that spoken in the reading from Revelation? I think we're all looking forward to the time when the great ordeal ends and God will wipe away every tear from our eyes. But that reading from Revelation isn't predicting the future as much as it is describing a present, the time when the early church was facing persecution by the empire. There's nothing new under the sun when it comes to tyrants and empire persecuting. This reading was meant for people who were suffering, to assure them that everything would be all right, that pain would somehow be redeemed, that they would be healed and made whole, that God's grace would overcome everything. They were meant to hear, God is with us. And yet, that great ordeal, that suffering and uncertainty that those early Christians endured, is going on all around the world at this very moment. In fact, in some ways, it always has been. And we have no power to end it, for only God can. And yet, we are part of this communion of saints, this gathering of witnesses throughout the ages who are called to let the light of Christ shine through us to illumine the world's darkness. You might think that that's a tall order for you, that you're not a saint, that you don't possess a laundry list of virtues that allows you to measure up. But the saints we celebrate today didn't measure up either. The saints whom we commemorate today, they were just like us. They struggled and fell, doubted and feared, loved and lost. They were just ordinary people. And it's not so much that they did extraordinary things, it's that they lived their lives with extraordinary love. What made them saints is that in the midst of that ordinariness, when fear and darkness was all around them and the temptation was just to withdraw and not let anything in, they let God in. And allowed the light of Christ to shine through them with the same richness and diversity that is reflected in the panes of glass that surround you in this moment. In other words, the world doesn't need another Martin Luther King or Mother Teresa. They have already shed their light in such beautiful and diverse ways. What the world needs is you, is us. Through you, light is supposed to shine and bring God's presence to a suffering and broken world that desperately longs for that light. It is why it is so beautiful and exquisitely appropriate that we celebrate baptism today. Because God needs many to show the world God's light. Through the transparent life that she is going to commit to lead in just a few moments from now. And God needs us, who will stand with her and renew the promises that we made at our baptism. And that's where the Beatitudes come in, which we heard so beautifully sung just a moment ago. When we ask God to bless Minnie in this commitment she is making, when we ask God to bless her throughout her life, I won't be asking whether she's worthy of God's blessing. Because that's not what a blessing is. It's not a reward or something you can earn. A blessing is the gift of God's presence for those who need it. And that's all of us. The whole world, in fact, at this very moment. So, if to be blessed is to be in the presence of God, if the more profound truth is God is with us, then maybe we need to hear the Beatitudes this way. Not blessed are, but God is with the poor, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven, because they have not made the world and its possessions their kingdom. God is with those who mourn, for they shall be comforted with the assurance that God will never abandon them. God is with you when people revile you and persecute you, because even when it seems as though everyone else has turned their back on you, God hasn't and never will. God is with the peacemakers, for they teach the world that when the killing starts, no one is right. That is how the baptized need to hear the Beatitudes. And that is how we are to proclaim them to our suffering world. God is with us. And though a lot is dark in the world right now, today is a holy day and is still a day for rejoicing. Because into the whole company of saints all around the world, people like Minnie are coming forward to be baptized. Through her baptism, Minnie will become a new creation, part of our new humanity. She will join us in our journey as we witness to the power of God's love working in our lives and making us a communion of saints, a holy people. She will help us, and we will help her, how to bring that light to where it's needed most in the darkness of this world, right on our doorstep and all the way around the world, in the Ukraine, in Israel and Palestine, in Afghanistan, wherever people are suffering and broken and in need of hearing that God is with us. Amen.